Hello everybody, I hope that all of you are doing super well, and today we actually have access to all the changes and patch notes for tomorrow, and it's basically everything that is coming with the Andy Bogard patch in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. And we're basically gonna make a breakdown in this video of all the changes and quality additions that are present in this document, which has all the notes. And then I'm also going to leave the Reddit post in this video in which you can access this file in any case that you just want to read it instead of, hearing a breakdown. But I'm gonna try to make the best breakdown I can, and then in the second part of the video I'm basically going to discuss what is the approach that SNK is taking with Fatal Fury in terms of balancing and how that is related to the Esports World Cup, which is basically the biggest fighting game event of the year, in which Fatal Fury has a big tournament with an amazingly big prize pool. So let's get into it. And well, the first thing that we have to discuss is of course that Andy is coming out tomorrow and the 24th. I'm gonna zoom in a little. And we have the first DLC of the game. I'm super excited for it. I think that Andy's gameplay looks really fun. He's basically a Kuma in this game, so it looks incredible, and he's probably gonna be quite strong. Then aside from Andy being added to the game, we have new outfits for Cristiano, which are related to basically the teams that he played during his career. Like he has an Sporting Lisbon outfit, then this is Juventus, I think, this is like Real Madrid, the Portugal national team, and then the Saudi team that he's playing right now. I don't play Cristiano that much because I don't really like his gameplay design, but to people that like to play with CR7, this is a great addition, of course. And I don't know if this means that he's going to be added to like the color customization mode, because he's not in it at the moment. So I hope that you can now like customize the colors with these new outfits, but we will know when the game basically puts the new patch on. Then we have information about two other things, which are the event collab with the Esports World Cup. This is just basically like a UI change. In the loading screen you're gonna see like the event and the dates and everything. This is arguably the biggest esports event in the year, so if you like those type of events, this maybe is hype to see the UI changing for the Esports World Cup. And then we have one of the biggest changes, I would argue, in this patch, and that is that the training mode is getting a revamp. And what is this trying to accomplish? It's basically, adding more features. It's like a quality of life change, trying to improve the experience with the training mode overall. They're going to change like the layout of the pace menu in the training mode to make it more easy to use and more intuitive. Then you also are going to have like more data in the UI and some specific parameters that maybe were not present before, and you see some of the details here and how are they going to be present in the pause menu. So basically they are trying to make training mode better, which is good. I think that they should continue doing this over time and make it better and better, because the training mode in this game is not awful, but it's also very just normal. It doesn't offer anything super unique, and it doesn't feel that easy to use. It's kind of like a little clanky. So I hope that over time, they just keep working on it and basically make the training mode as the best thing that it can be over the first season of the game. Then we have additions to the single player mode. If you're someone, that enjoys episodes of Southtown, they're actually making a lot of changes. For example, you can now access scenes and like revisit the story of some characters in a list of cinematic sequences and like graphics, and basically art. So if you like checking that, that is great. Then there's going to be an experience allocator. So they are trying basically to mix like the multiple experiences that you can have around content that is available in the game to connect it to episodes of Southtown. To basically, I think that it is to put more people into the game mode, because maybe not a lot of people are playing EOST and they want them to try it. Then there is like more challenges, which is related to Just Defend, and there's going to be a challenge on an EOST map, basically, in which you can play as Andy. And then there's also going to be challenges only, for like Just Defend inside the game. So that is another thing. Then we have more like general quality of life features that are going to be added to the game, and they are very like weird, because they should have been in the start, from release, but whatever. We are getting them now. For example, now we're gonna get notifications every time that we receive a friend request in the game. We can also turn on and off the notifications like friend requests and room match invitations. So that is really good. And also we are going to get notified when we unlock basic content, like movies, artwork, and whatever is connected to unlockables inside the game. Now there's also a new link inside the UI of the game to access news in relationship to the game, or SNK, which is good. This is something that I'm really excited for, which is new music. I love SNK music, so we're getting a couple of songs that are basically going to be added to the Jukebox, and we have Andy's theme, a new boss theme, which maybe is a hint for something, I don't know. To be honest, maybe it was just something that was not playable but was already present in the game in some way. And then we have some like remixes and Ganache music. I really like this song, like the Trey Andy Joe song, so I'm super happy that they're going to add that. I'm probably going to put it in my Jukebox. Then we have easier access to the command list, so now basically you can see the command list of your characters before you start playing. You can see it on the character select screen, which is really good. You know, if you're someone new, maybe you want to see which special moves and how hard they are to execute before you even pick a character, so that is useful. Then we also have some changes for the control scheme. This is not really something big, it's just, you know, that you need to pick like for online on battle settings and for the other modes on other part that basically universal for like classic versus and offline game modes and stuff. They also added more tutorials. If I'm not mistaken, they added a couple of more specific examples about rolls and rep blows. So if you're new and you want to learn more stuff within the game, this is good for you. And now let's go into the actual balance changes. And well, there aren't that many like huge changes. Some of them are significant, others not that much. It's mainly quality of life changes, but some changes are actually, you know, pretty strong if you think about them. For example, this general like universal change is actually pretty important, basically because this is a change to the reversal window in the game. They are actually making the amount of frames that you need to input a reversal less. So now you have more time, you know, the reversal window is bigger in which you can basically input your DP. And if you see this list, it's almost, if I'm not mistaken, only reversals. Yeah, Rising Tackle is a reversal, Power Dunk is a reversal. There are some characters in here that don't have a meterless reversal, so they are even making this with supers. If I'm not mistaken, like T-Sock doesn't have a DP, you know, a meterless DP. Kevin, if I'm not mistaken, also doesn't have a meterless DP. If you have a character that you play and it's actually in this list and it has one of these special moves, you're gonna have an easier time inputting that move specifically, probably, you know, as a reversal on a wake up situation, because the reversal window is gonna be bigger. So since you need less frames to actually do your DP, you can do it not as preemptively and actually do it super close to the moment in which you're standing up. So this is actually a big change. Like, it changes a very like key interaction in this game because meterless reversals are super strong. So this is not insignificant. It's not the biggest change ever, but it is also pretty relevant depending on the character that you play specifically. And then the other system changes that we have are basically another like quality of life features. For example, here is some changes to feints. You know, it says feints will work for some characters even with the assigned bottle held down. Then combination attacks, it would happen sometimes that you couldn't wake up roll after a combination attack ended on crouching HK, for example, on a counter hit. They are very specific changes that probably you don't even care about, so you're not, you know, going to be thinking about this that much, or even, you know, leaving a situation in the game in which this happens. So I wouldn't be that worried about it, to be honest. Then we have a change for Kain that it is actually very significant. If you play Kain, this is very relevant, I would argue, and it's going to make the character even better, dude. And that is that the amount of frames that you need to charge down, you know, to do a DP, because if I'm not mistaken, Schwarz Flame, it's his flash kick, is actually going to be 15 frames less. So this means basically that the reversal window for the flash kick is bigger, and also it's probably going to be easier to do combos because you don't need to charge the flash kick as much, so you have bigger like windows of time to actually do the charge motion. So this is going to make Kain probably a little easier and also maybe a stronger character, to be honest. Then we have some stuff for Marco, and it's mainly quality of life. There's no change for Marco that I would argue is super big. There's nothing that is actually going to change the character, so Marco's probably going to be the same, even when Kain is a little better with this change. Even if it is a quality of life, it's still more important because it's frames. So if you play Marco, there's no real changes, I would argue. Then T-Sock actually got technically a nerf, which is really stupid. I don't know why they are nerfing this character. He's arguably the worst character in the game, but it's still not something as significant, just, you know, a horde box. Then Bijane actually got a nerf because her rev meter is actually going to feel less than before when he performed rev arts, so she's actually a little worse now. Then Kevin had a slightly reduced size of an upper hitbox area. This means basically that some characters before could not avoid the move with a dodge attack, and now it's going to be possible. So this is a nerf actually also for Kevin, but again, not that significant. Then Hotaru is changing a specific situation in which when she got a counter hit after a projectile reflection, it will lead to a grounded and hit state. So it is a very, again, a specific situation, not really a change for the characters. She's going to be probably still one of the 3 best characters in the game. Then for Hokutomaru, we have basically what we could understand Again, as a nerf, because it is a change similar to the one for Kevin, you know, with the low dodge attack situation. But again, no real changes for Hokutomaru, he's still basically the same. And then for Kim Dong-hwan, we have a specific change that I would argue can be big if you play with smart, you know, controls and do a smart combos, and that is that you now can cancel the first hit of a crouching smart combo into a red blow or the Heian gear. So if you like using smart controls, this is actually a buff for the character if you play Kim. And then we have, you know, the other change, which is the same that as VGNA, and that is that, you know, the red meter is not going to feel as much when the character is performing, you know, some special move in certain situations. And then we have some Ronaldo changes, but again, very, very insignificant, which is basically the tone of the patch. You know, the changes in the patch are not that big. And as you're seeing, it's again the same thing like the wild state punish that some characters got. I think Hokutomaru got the same change, reduces the size of a hitbox, like very small changes basically. And then we have some changes to very specific situations and some modes, like clone mode, you know, the trials, gallery, so it's nothing really that is probably going to matter to you. And then we have additional measures because SNK is basically finding some people using like external sites to play the game illegally, basically with piracy probably, and they're putting this statement in which they're trying, you know, to take people out of the piracy situation. But again, it's probably nothing super important. So as you're seeing, the patch is actually really small. There's basically no relevant changes. So now let's discuss what is going on and why SNK maybe does not want to change the game that much. And just to close out the video, you know, some closing thoughts related to what I said and the balanced approach of SNK. It is very obvious that they don't want to change the game until the Esports World Cup ends, you know, so until that event is over, you know, and someone wins like $1 million because of the Grand Finals in Fatal Fury, we are probably not going to see any significant balance changes in this game. And I can understand that, you know, they don't want to interfere with like the development of the meta in the game before that big event, even though it is very obvious which characters are strong. Like everyone in the Esports World Cup is gonna play Kain, Hokutomaru, Hotaru, Billy, and maybe Marco, and then you have like the smaller, you know, probably pick characters like Rock and Terry. So it is to me just very obvious that we're not gonna get anything until that event is over. So if you're waiting, you know, for a big patch to change this game a little, to shake things up, you have to wait until August. I think that in August or maybe September, we're going to see some significant changes in the game. And maybe Andy is also going to be strong enough to be played at the Esports World Cup. We just have to wait and see how actually strong he is. So if you enjoyed the video, you know, leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. What do you think of these changes in Fatal Fury? And see you on the next one, guys.